Hello. 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 And welcome to Anstrom. So, it's a new week. It's a new dawn, a new era. The era after the Final Fantasy VIII drawthrough. It's over! But still, we must dredge up the mud. And we must work out where in this mud there is gold and where it is just a lot of mud. And try and wash it away and replace it with something better. So yeah. Let's pop over. This is... That's still there. I'm not getting rid of it. Keep forgetting about that. I also keep forgetting to move things over for streams so that I can be near the microphone while drawing. Apologies! Things. Nah, there we go. Right, I have prepared nothing for this. So we'll just see how it goes, I guess. Yeah, let's... I guess the first thing we should do is rough out the plot as it currently stands. And as a consequence, try and find the major points that we want to deal with. So, okay. What do we got? This one. This one. How granular do we want to go? We want to do this quickly. Yeah, Kyle and Simon. Sword fight. Let's start. Then they get injured, and then Velma creep. Plus Demon Cave. That's our coursework, if you recall. After that, we go back and Dolit mission. What with the big old spiders and stuff. Well, we can go a bit more granular than that. Kyle. Is abscond the word I'm looking for? Probably. What's the MIA, I guess? No, not MIA. AWOL, that's the one. It's a Chib. Hi, how you doing? Carl AWOL. Jenny join. Oh, Dolit mission plus Pikachu. How is a Chib? Is a Chib good? I'm just roughing out the story as it currently stands, and then we'll identify problem points. Gonna join satellite dish. Grumpy and wide. Mech spider. Chib's alright, how's it Chris? Chris is up and down. Well, I'm writing down the plot as exists so far, and then what we're going to do is we're going to attack it with a knife. And we're going to go, nope, like that. Yeah, so this is at the beginning. There's the satellite dish thing, Grumpy and Wide are there. The mechanical spider chases us. Where's Miss when you need a knife? She'll turn up at the right time with the right knife. Yeah, and then we get back. Kyle's reprimanded. Graduate to seed. Then we get briefing. So this is what the timber briefing. Timber briefing. We get the magical lamp. Yes, we get it that far back in the story. And then we have dream number 1. J cubed And no. Then we go to timber. Timber, we have pinches and patches. Cheery and jive. Train heist. Fight zombie. Have you had a good start to the week? After that, what do? We Kyle kidnaps president. Sorceress abducts Kyle. Escape timber. That leads to dream number 2. J cubed plus crystal, which we'll later learn is the lunatic Pandora. I'm doing this very small for some reason. We can grab some of this after the train heist, maybe. Try not to let the beginning of this week send you into a panicky spiral. Oh no. So you're holding up, I guess. Well, it's nice to try. Obviously hope it doesn't. Yeah. Anything I can do to help? Let me know. Okay, so we've done that. After the dream is what? We wake up. Assassination. Brief. Plus McCree. Then we go to the thing. Old ruins, where we meet Howard and Howard. Was it Howard? I can't remember the name. Not really. It's just school stuff. Yeah. Well, I can still hope hopefully help in an abstract way. A general sense of ease, if possible. Old ruins. More ass brief. Ass briefs. Then we have lock shenanigans. The parade. And sewers. Cheery. Hypnotized, I guess. Fight gargoyles. Gargoyle lizards. Garg lizards. Assassination. Fail. Attack. Kyle. And DM. Rip. Simon. That's disc 1. Boom. Straight up. A bit of stretch and have drinks. Disc 2. This is a lot faster. Why don't I do this for the draw through? Prison. Prison. Mumbas. Oh no, hang on, we start with the dream, don't we? Dream number 3. Windhill. Young. Dishy. And Jessica. Then we have prison. Moombas. It's not a draw through, it's a right through, that's true. Yes. How would you know what to make fan art without wonderful drawings? I mean, they're drawings. Don't go so far as to say that they're wonderful. Your fan art is. There's prison, there's Mumbas, there's interrogation, I guess. And then escape. Then there's missiles. Missile base. Sabotage. Then we have fly versus Norg. Evacuate. And space potato. Space potato off. Space potato takes off. You honestly keep forgetting the prison was a thing. It's not really that important, to be honest. Every time someone mentions the prison, you go, oh yeah, they went to prison. They went to a prison that goes up and down. They can just dig into the sand whenever it wants. Because that's practical. Then what happens? Simon, President Simon, Headmaster, let's say. Well, President. He becomes captain of the potato. Fisherman's Horizon. Fisherman's Horizon. Group meet. Everyone comes back together. It's all grand. Concert as well. Then what happens? Then we go back to Balam, 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 non-binarity are there. And we fight them, and then that's about it. Then, oh yeah, White Seed. Seed minus Dishonored Jesse. Then we go to Cheese, where we learn about the Orphanage of Plot Convenience. Then we go to the Pancake. It's Pancake Day, by the way. Go to the Pancake, fight Kyle. I guess there's the whole scene of, well, Klefki. Let's just say Klefki. And then fight Kyle and TM again, and then Cheery goes unconscious. That's disc 2, really. That only had one line. Disc 3. Meets TM for real, not mind controlled TM. Cheery's unconscious still. And then we have dream number 4. Which was the film, I think. Sure, films and drag. It didn't really matter. Then we come back, and then we're like, oh hey, we need to find Dishonored Jesse. So we go back to the White Seed on the ship. Pinches and Patches are also there. That leads us to Stupid Long Walk. To go to Estes. There we go to space. Also, Lunatic Pandora arrives. In space, Cheery is possessed. The Lunar Cry happens. Do you remember that? Do you remember how that didn't matter? And copyright is released. Meanwhile, the people on Earth go into the lunatic Pandora and then immediately get kicked out for no reason. Then more space. The Ragnarok. Find that floating in space. Aliens are on it. Gotta kill them. And then we come back. Then Cheery is captured. We then rescue Cheery. And then we get a chat with Jimmy. There's another dream in here somewhere, isn't there? Oh yeah, just before we get to Estes. Dream number last. Dishy rescue. So many dreams. By which I mean 5? Yeah, we have a chat with Jimmy. Perhaps it doesn't matter. And then lunatic plan. Fight Kyle again. The non-binarity and Grumpy and Wide leave the game because they should. Still too many times to have a dream of your dad's past. Yeah, plan. That's why I called it the lunatic plan. Fight Kyle. We then fight Copyright. And then fall through time. We then go to a castle. Fight STPP. Fight Klefki. Fight both. Fight STPP again. And then STPP gives powers to TM, and then the game ends. That's like disc 3 and 4. Well, there we go. There's the plot. There's the plot of the game. You know what? If I prepared this, I can give you a. Hang on, 1 second. I'm just gonna do a thing. I'm gonna give you a little bit of a sneak peek of something that I'm working on for reasons. There. That's something that I'm working on. Do you know what this is? This is the plot of Final Fantasy VIII. As expressed in abstract symbols. So like, hey, we meet Kyle and Simon, and then we go to the Space Potato, and then we meet Velma, and then she joins the group, and then plot happens, and then we go to the dungeon, and then we fight Simbashanks, and then Velma leaves the party, and so on and so forth. So yeah, I'm working on that for reasons. Shh. That's also there. Right. Look, it's just you here. Shh. So, what do we do? What do we do with this mess? Ragdoll's not here. We'll probably do at least 2 of these streams. So, I feel like it's sensible to wait for Ragdoll before we start jumping into their story. But there's a lot of things. I think it would be nice to try and work out a minimum viable product here. So we'll just analyze the things that we really, really, really don't want, and work out how to fix them. You'll shh about it. Yes. It looks complicated, but it's very simple. I hope it's simple. For reasons. Right. Yeah. Okay, so things that I think are probably the most important to fix in this story, of all the stuff that I've written down. What do you not want the most in this game? That's a hard question. Yeah, exactly. I think the thing that always stuck with me as being the thing that needs to be fixed is... I don't even know where in the story it is. It's that important. Where is it? There we are. The orphanage of plot convenience. And that would be nice to fix. Not entirely necessary, because it's just a slap in the face that never actually has any meaning. Like, theoretically, you could fix this just by taking it out. Like, you don't need it. So that's not really, I guess, not the biggest problem. The biggest problem, one of the biggest problems for me is that, yeah, we called it the orphanage of plot convenience for a reason. Yes, exactly. I mean, it could have been anything. They could have gone, let's think of the space potato when we're falling through time, and we'll end up there. And then we get the evil version of the space potato in the future. That'd be quite cool. And you might think, well, Cheery and McCree, they don't have anything to do with the space potato. Yes, Cheery also doesn't have anything to do with the orphanage, but it didn't stop them. So, yeah. Or at least just as much, yeah. We've been flying around in it for the last God knows how long, so they should have some sort of attachment to it. You know, McCree helped make it fly. That's pretty important. Yeah, so theoretically we could just take that out and have each character just actually have their own backstory, which would be nice. Presumably they also went to school there for you don't know how long. Well, Cheery didn't, because Cheery isn't a seed. McCree went to the pancakes, not the potato. And Jenny was at cheese for a while and only recently moved to the potato. But we can change that, because the only reason she recently moved there was so that she could remember vaguely, or she could be like, I only started having memory problems when I went to the potato and started using Pokemon. So we can cut that out. Yeah, but who cares about Cheery? Yeah, I know. Honestly, for me, and there are many problems with this, but for me the main problem is just lack of focus for a villain. And again, hence why I'm so obsessed with the phrase, there may be many reasons, but it doesn't matter. Like, after this bit, after there is no... this whole bit here, there's no reason for any of this to happen. Like, this is just people doing stuff because we need stuff to happen. And we're told that there are villains. Copyright is mentioned to be a villain. We are told that there is a sorceress in the future. We don't see anything. Like, we kind of do, but we see it through proxy of people getting possessed. Like, if there was a twist and it turned out that that was Dishonored Jesse the whole time, that'd be quite fun. And there was no STPP. Like, copyright is long dead. The villain was TM for so much of the game and then just not. Exactly, that really bothers me. So, again, one of the ideas I had, and let's bring this to the middle because the corner's annoying me. The earlier idea I had for these sorts of things, which is kind of superseded by your let's just get rid of STPP and make copyright the villain, is because my other big problem with the game is, and I didn't really get this across in the draw-through, is that no two places on the planet look like they're from the same game. There's complete technological inconsistency throughout the entire thing. It is not believable that a world like that could exist. You know, sometimes it's an old castle with demons in it. Sometimes it's a 1950s version of Paris. Sometimes it's flying hover cars and laser guns. And it's like, what's going on here? And on the flip side, you have the lack of focus of the villain, because apparently the major villain of the game wants to compress time, although you don't know what that means or what it does or anything like that. And so my original idea was, if you just have people go into the place, you know, you've got a relatively modern military academy, the Space Potato. At the time it was futuristic, but now like touchscreens and glass elevators are a bit passé. You know, that's relatively modern. If you have them then go to a castle with a demon in it, and they say, wait, why is there a castle with a demon in it? And then they go to a futuristic city with flying cars and lasers, and they go, wait, this doesn't make sense. If you just incorporate the idea that, hey, time's already being messed with, then you could have some sort of visual effect for what the villain's trying to do. Maybe time compression's already started. And that would explain why the whole world's technologically inconsistent, because there are bits of time all around. Like, some places are further in the past, some places are further in the future. Now, will that make the plot much more convoluted? Yes. What I ended up doing with that idea was rewriting the entire game. And I've still got that plot, because it was dissimilar enough from Final Fantasy VIII that you could just make it your own thing. But honestly, the fact that we can just supersede all that by saying no time shenanigans, there's no reason to have time shenanigans, we just have copyright in space. Like, I think space is a good enough ending. Like, we don't need to have time as well. You know, build up the lunatic Pandora, have that be more of a thing. Don't get the end goal of time compression in the first place. Like, wouldn't she just end up killing everything and anything, including herself? Exactly. What is the point? She's like, oh, I will control everything. How? There will be no time. There may be many reasons, but it doesn't matter. No, we need a reason. Because the idea, the logical conclusion I had of the idea of there being like, because why would there be multiple places that have their own like sort of time zone at the moment? Would it not be more random than that? Could you not have like, you know, half a city in the future and half a city in the past and all that sort of stuff? And while that would be a good set piece, I like the idea of trying to take that idea and having it be that it's deliberate, and this idea of a succession of sorceresses. So there's always only one, and they pass their powers on to the next whenever they die. I like the idea that the time compression is just to bring a bunch of sorceresses all together. Because if there's only ever one in a linear time scale, but you start messing around with time, you can have a whole coven, and then they could rule the world. That's a good plan. Like, the one furthest in the future works out how to mess with time and goes, right, well, I know exactly where these ones are, because they're in the past. Bring them all together, and now we have an unstoppable force of sorceresses. So it's a much more tame version of time compression, where we're not trying to compress it into a tiny point. We just sort of, there's a purpose behind it. I want there to be a purpose behind the main villain of the game. You know, it doesn't have to be a complicated but it could just be, you know, Final Fantasy VI does pretty well where the main villain of that game is, I want chaos. And that's fine, that works. But I don't know. They don't want to bring the whole universe to a singularity. You know. Yeah, I like the idea of, if you're gonna do time shenanigans, have a reason for it. And if you've got this idea of just a linear progression of sorceresses, compressing time to bring a bunch of them together so that they could all rule all powerfully over the planet, that's not a bad idea. And that was the basis for my story. But if we want to keep it simple, getting rid of time altogether and just having just having copyright be the main villain. We don't need 3 sorceresses. What's the point? I agree with you. Villains don't have to be complicated, but they do have to make some semblance of sense. They have to be. I don't know. They have to be at least in some way understandable. You know, unless the point of it is that it's supposed to be unknowable. But this isn't unknowable. This is just a person in the future. and we meet them, and they talk. We speak the same language. We're like, this is not Cthulhu. This is not Dagon. Okay, so let's for a moment, because I've spent far too long going into the details of my stupid story. Let's for the moment just say, okay, we'll cut STPP out of the game altogether, and we'll just have all this happening from space. Okay? That'll be a plot twist. Yeah, it turns out STPP, Cthulhu. Who'd have thought? There wasn't a machine that allowed them to put their consciousness back in time. They can just do that. So how can we surgically modify this story to just cut STPP out altogether? I think really all you need to do is just go like that. And I guess you're pretty much done, right? Like, the game's shorter, yeah, but it makes more sense. Because I don't think I've mentioned STPP anywhere else in this summary. Like, is this the minimum viable product? We get rid of the orphanage of plot convenience. We get rid of cheese altogether. We don't need that. So Jenny is now has always been at the Space Potato. So now there's just like 2 rival schools. That makes sense. We get rid of STPP. No time travel shenanigans. What are we going to do with Dishonored Jesse? Because that was the other idea I had with Dishonored Jesse, because I didn't want to do too much time nonsense. If you, again, it's kind of best if you keep it relatively straightforward with time stuff. I watch a lot of Doctor Who, and it can get messy. So the idea I had for that was that if you're messing around with time so that some places are from the past and some places are from the future, there's the possibility of you just sort of cutting out bits of people's lives. So there's like a young version of somebody in one of the towns from the past and an old version of the same person in a town from the future. So there's like 2 versions of them now existing, but their whole middle of their life has been removed. And I thought maybe instead of having it, you send somebody's consciousness back into the past to see flashbacks of this person's life, maybe you just see sort of like echoes of a life that's been cut out of time. You know, you go to a place and then you see these sort of ghosts walking through. It's like, ooh, what's going on here? And that's like, these people, they had a life and it lived, but it got cut out of time, so now it didn't happen, and we're seeing the remnants of it. And you could have that instead of, you know, mind control flashback situation. So it just brings together the 2 ideas. It means that there only has to be one time travel idea, basically. But with this, if we're not doing time travel at all, without STPP, there's little time shenanigans happening. Yes, exactly. So I'm like, do we need Dishonored Jesse? I guess there's no harm in it. Because, like, Dishonored Jesse is the reason that STPP can do what she can do. Because they analyze her brain and they make a machine out of it. But I guess we could have Dishonored Jesse without ever mentioning STPP at all. They're not, like, one's reliant on the other, not the other. Yeah, STPP is reliant on Dishonored Jesse, not the other way around. So we could just still have Dishonored Jesse doing her thing and like, I wanna, you know, try and get Jimmy to go back to Jessica before she dies. And that can just be her thing. Like, so I think it doesn't really fix the visual design, but that's just a personal thing. Certainly for the purposes of a draw-through, it doesn't matter. But I think this, as a minimum viable product, works quite well. Just no orphanage nonsense. We don't need the orphanage if we're not traveling through time, because we don't need the whole, we need to stick together, love and friendship, traveling through time, think about the orphanage. We don't need that. We don't need the 3rd garden, the cheese. I guess that gets rid of the tension of the missile base a little bit, because they haven't already sent 1 barrage of missiles, but who actually thought they were going to blow up the base, I guess. Yeah, that's an easily modifiable thing. Dishy is the gateway to knowing Jimmy, and Jimmy is connected to the space stuff through Estes, so all you need to do is make Simon and Jimmy's meeting a bigger deal. And that does need to be a bigger deal. Like, they literally just say, oh, Jimmy turns around and goes, oh, hey, how you doing? I guess you were the guys in my head, right? When, you know, back in the day, the fairies. Dishy did that, because thanks, Dishy. And then you carry on talking about the plan. Then you justify Dishy being there. I think one other thing I forgot is I think at that point I think that Dishy got kidnapped or something. I was playing through the game, and again, the fact that I can't remember, even though I played through the game recently, is indicative of something. But like at the end, I don't think Dishy's actually at that meeting with Jimmy. I think she's already been kidnapped and she's in the lunatic Pandora. It doesn't matter, because the next time you see her, you rescue her, and there is no consequence for this, for anything. Like, it's the same reason as I didn't mention that Cheery was in the prison, because she immediately leaves and then comes back, so it doesn't matter. There's a lot of things in this game that happen and then don't matter. They're just a thing that happens because it was in the script. I guess it gives a little bit more impetus for us wanting to go into the lunatic Pandora, other than let's save the world. You'd think. Dishy, Jimmy, and Simon have to meet up in the revised version. Yeah, they'll all be at the meeting. There's no reason. I think Dishy gets captured off screen. I don't even think it's a thing you see. I don't know why she gets captured. Oh no, I know why she gets captured, because that's what... Well, she gets captured because that's what STPP wants. So here's the question. Why would Copyright want STPP? What's Copyright's deal here? Does Copyright just want to be ruler of the planet? Because obviously, up until this point, just possessing people to get them out of their space shackles back onto Earth and into the lunatic Pandora, that's a pretty good thing. But why would throughout the game there be mention of at the time TM wanting to get hold of Dishonored Jesse? Because, you know, they went to Fisherman's Horizon, they were going to burn it down, they went to Balam, they were going to destroy that because they were just looking for Dishonored Jesse. Like, I guess in our version we would have to have Copyright also want Dishonored Jesse for whatever reason. What did she want before she got shackled? Maybe, I don't know, maybe with her ability to send a consciousness back through time, she can go back in time and warn herself about the capture attempt in the first place, and then not get captured. And then she'll just be ruler of the past, and then history will change forever. That's a relatively simple idea. Because obviously she got tricked into getting captured and being sent to space. Apparently there is a cutscene about that. I've never seen that. There is, if you talk to some of the scientists in the game, they give you a little cutscene of how she was tricked into being captured in gel, and then sent into space. But I guess, yeah, just getting hold of Dishonored Jessie so she can go back, send her consciousness back into the past to warn herself that it's a trick, and then that way she'll change history and never get captured, and she'll remain ruler. That's not a terrible plan. Because you can, like, there is precedent in the story with the space scene of Simon telling Cheery to sort our oxygen out. There is precedent of being able to communicate an idea through time. You know, you maybe you can't change things, or, well, theoretically, yeah. With a normal consciousness you can't change things, but you are sending a sorceress back in the past. That's a different deal. Also, probably a bit of I don't want this other sorceress to be a threat. True. I guess that's why she was possessing TM in the first place. Are we gonna go with this idea of the lineage of the succession of witches, as it says in the game? Because if so, where did TM get her powers? I know they explained this in the original story. Maybe we could just go with this idea that, you know, being a sorceress is just kind of like an inherited sort of. It's a genetic thing. Midichlorians. So it doesn't have to be a lineage per se. Okay, so what have we got so far? Because this is a perfectly acceptable change being made. Maybe Dishy's power to make her immune to being controlled herself, so copyright was just like, let's imprison her instead. Oh, I guess. Oh, I see. Oh, okay. So in this version, we're assuming that Dishy is a sorceress, which makes perfect sense. Why wouldn't she be? The reason she wouldn't be originally is because hang on, I've got to go back to the original convoluted plot in my head. No, she's not. She's not a sorceress. I can't remember. I can't remember why she's not a sorceress originally. Exactly, I know. Why wouldn't she be? She has the ability to send people's consciousness back through time. Is that not like she has a natural magical ability that does not require her to be, you know, at death's door to use, or to use a Pokemon or anything like that? She can just do that. Why is that not a sorceress? You completely misunderstood that part. Again, fully understandable as to why you would misunderstand that. But yeah, apparently because she doesn't have, she's not part of the succession. You know, but we can just cut that out entirely. Don't get this game's definition of sorceress. You and me both. She fits the criteria as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, we can have just different types of sorceresses. There's no reason to have one, you know, copyright's like a sorceress of destruction, and TM maybe is like a sorceress of personality or something like that, because that's why she could become a politician and hypnotize people and stuff. And Dishy is a sorceress of time. You say Dishy is a sorceress. Okay, that's cool. Okay, so we can have this idea of like sorceresses of different types. That's pretty cool. I like that. Okay, so changes. Rough changes. Changes for minimum viable product. Although we're already moving away from the word minimal. Remove STPP, the orphanage. Copyright wants copyright doing everything STPP normally does. Copyright wants Dishonored Jesse to 1, eliminate threat. And 2, warn past self. Self of Uprising. And then Dishonored Jesse is a sorceress. Yes. Remove lineage or succession idea. Because, like, even in the game, that's broken. Cheery gets to be a double sorceress by the end of it. You say that she is more of a sorceress of memory than time. That's nice. Sorceress of memory. So maybe she can modify people's memories. I guess if there are different types of sorceresses, she could just want Dishy for her powers. Like, Mangle has already made so much, he probably could invent something that could transfer his powers or something. Okay, so she wants to collect. Okay, yeah, that's cool. That's good. And that's quite thematic with older Final Fantasy games. There's villains with similar motives in those. To collect her powers. Like I say, once she's out of space, she had contingency plans. She knew that eventually she would get herself out of space, and once that's happened, she can collect things. So maybe this one less so. Like have fewer time shenanigans and more just I want to accrue power shenanigans, which makes sense. Control, and if can't be controlled, collect. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Sorceress of memory. TM is sorceress of... I guess she has inherent, like, attacking powers. But her whole deal at the beginning of the game is that she takes over a political nation, like... She's clearly got some hypnotism stuff going on. All you know of copyright is you want to fight and something moon full of monsters. Are we going to do something with the moon? Because doesn't really do anything. It's just a way of knocking her out of space. But we can do that with anything. We can do that with, like, oh, she broke the seal and now she can use her powers to fling herself towards the planet. Like, we don't need a moon full of monsters. DM is a sorceress of mind control. I don't know. Control, etc. It's so stupid you keep remembering it. Yeah, it's... I also don't think I did justice just how disgusting that cutscene is. Cry. Because, like, the surface of the moon is, like, blue, and the monsters are red, and it's just all... bleh. Can I find an animated GIF? Nope, that's just images of Sailor Moon crying. Well, that doesn't help, does it? Okay, so we can also remove... is this just going to be a kind of like... Okay, this is the clinical rewrite. This is, let's get rid of everything that doesn't matter. So we're trying not to add too much. We're just patching the holes of the things that we're cutting out. This is, you know, surgery. We can write an interesting story later, but for now, we're just doing surgery. Don't need the Luna cry at all. I guess Cheery's also gonna be a sorceress, yeah? But she doesn't inherit the sorceress powers from TM. She's just, her sorceress powers awaken once Copyright's mind is free, and she's like, oh, I'll take over this person. They seem powerful. I don't know what she's a sorceress of. She doesn't do anything. Guess we won't change. I think she doesn't have to be a sorceress, now that I think about it. We lose this if we get rid of that. we lose... Cheery gets captured, Cheery gets rescued. Ah, what a shame that would be. It does impinge on the love story. And that is basically the climactic moment of the love story, because after this point, it doesn't matter. Like the rest of the game, whatever. We've got to fight some stuff. That thing can just be cut, okay? Cutting that. Yeah, this is all a different layer. So... Cheery not a sorceress. Because she doesn't appear to have any particular abilities. Again, this is our cut and dry version. If we want to incorporate Ragdoll's story later about the knights and things like that, then there's no reason we can't add that back in. How would we? Is there anything we can do simply to fix the love story? I'm not really. This is version 1. I have version 0, the whole time compression nonsense. This is version 1. Have them be in love. Have them show any affection towards one another whatsoever. That can work. I'm trying to think, like, what is the first point? Like, she flirts with him at the party, right? But she also flirts with Kyle. So that doesn't really mean much. In fact, Kyle is the one that she remembers from the party, and she's disappointed when Simon turns up. At the timber train thing. So clearly Kyle was the one she was focused on. They have an argument in timber, so they don't get on. They didn't show affection until like 3/4 of the way through the game, and by then you were already onto their bush. I think 3/4 of the way through the game she was unconscious, so it doesn't really help. You know, they could have they've got their love scene on the space thing. It's like, oh, you rescued me from space, and they hug in zero gravity. Yeah, that's nice. Reminds me of Final Fantasy X. No, that wasn't zero gravity. That was water, but whatever. It comes to something when Final Fantasy X is a better love story than this. They actually have the spark. Anyway, that's nice though. It doesn't have to be romantic. So are we just literally going to cut the love plot out of this altogether? Because I would remind you that this is the logo of the game. Like, that's what it is. It's on the front cover. They have zero chemistry. I mean, fair. I mean, how many people will remember, the meteor in Final Fantasy VII? That's the front cover of that. So, I'm honestly trying to think, when is the first time that there is like genuine chemistry? Like, she's a bit worried about him when he falls unconscious in the forest. But I don't know. They were literally in the middle of an argument when that happened. So maybe she just feels bad about that. I think it's just when he gets stabbed through the heart with ice, she goes, "Oh no!" But if that happened to McCree, would she have done the same? I see no reason why she wouldn't. You'd also be worried if somebody fainted in front of you in the middle of a forest. It's like, oh no, am I going to get blamed for this? If a person falls down in the forest and nobody's around to help them. Oh, this is the ice music. There's the music when he gets stabbed. There's that. And like, technically at the prison bit, they go back because Cheery wants to rescue Simon. But we don't find that out until way later in the game. I guess it's when we get back after the whole flying thing. It's at the end of disc 2, isn't it? It's the Klefki bit. It's when she wants Klefki. That's when we first find out that she actually has a. Oh no, I guess there's also the concert at Fisherman's Horizon, but that's like they're putting on a concert for him and Cheery. I guess that's the first indication. But we could also cut that out of the game because who the hell cares? And cut out the concert. Why not? What did we have? A hurdy-gurdy, a banjo, a recorder, and a kazoo, I think. They have so little chemistry, so all their moments can be written off as just the way decent people would react to bad things happening to people. Yeah. And she's just there because she can't play an instrument, basically. She wasn't trained in the art of seed instrument playing. If you play an instrument with a seed, it's a sudwind. So yeah, okay, got that out. That's pointless. Cut out Klefki, because if we're not going to the future, then there ain't going to be no Klefki boss. I mean, we could have Klefki. I don't see. I would like it better explained. Again, in the Japanese version, they do explain where the Klefki boss comes from. It's like, oh, I'm going to take the thing that means the most to you and use it against you. Again, it would be nice if he mentioned that at any point in the game. It's literally this scene. I was thinking about this, and the justification for that being a thing at the end is literally that scene. This is not mentioned anywhere else. Klefki means the most to yes, because Klefki symbolizes lions, and he admires lions for their bravery. That's it. Like, what else could you do? Okay. Instead of being explicitly destructive and just going cut that, what would be better? If Copyright, who is now our final villain, said, I am going to summon the thing that means the most to you and use it against you, what would we have? What would we do? What actually means anything to our characters? Because the only reason they were really attached in the first place was because they were at the same school, and then subsequent to that is because they turned out they were all from the same orphanage. Other than that, I don't know what they have in common. They've just been travelling together. They haven't really had a common goal. They've just been together. You know, like in a lot of these stories, in a lot of Final Fantasy games, the characters are travelling because they all have a common goal. They all have a common thing they want to achieve, but they don't really have it in this game. Nothing, yeah. Like, stop STPP, stop TM is just essentially a hangover from the orders they were given originally. Assassinate this person. They're causing havoc, let's stop them. I guess it makes more sense in the end of Disc 2, sort of around this bit. Where are we? Yeah, around here. You could argue at this point that they could just go, let's leave it. We've got the flying potato now, we'll just go somewhere and not worry about it. But they choose instead, after realizing that the person that they're after is the person who looked after them as children, they decide, yeah, let's go kill them. I still don't understand that. I don't think any amount of translation is going to help that. But so I guess they had that, but then TM stops being a villain. Is there something we can do with that? So that's another thing. The more you think about Klefki, the funnier it is. It's like if we're battling someone, then suddenly like, I'm gonna take the thing you care for the most. So rather than taking something actually personal, they take your anime keyring. I mean, yeah, you had a Jigglypuff on your key fob, so you're gonna fight giant Jigglypuff. You just fight a monstrous version of Rabbit Jessie or something. Oh no, it'd be Atlas. You'd have to fight Atlas. Sorry, it just occurred to me that Atlas is a more compelling character than anyone in this game. Atlas wouldn't want to fight, and thus scuppers the plan. That could be, you know, that could be a thing. Like, whatever's summoned is a thing that actually, like, at some point turns and goes, actually, no. I don't know. You could do something like that. Maybe it's one of those things where it's, like, influenced in the game. Anyway, sorry, that was the other thing I was going to say. In my version, I keep saying my version. I have my own version. No, in the version that I made ages ago, TM, because it's got the whole Coven of Witches thing, and witches, the sorceresses plucked out throughout history. They all, you know, conglomerate together and become a thing. In that version, TM, who's like the really powerful magic user, so on and so forth. I'm the sorceress of this age, and I will join the Coven, and I will help lead it, or whatever. It turns out she's not a sorceress. She has a lot of magical affinity. It's Cheery who's the sorceress, and it's like a end of Act 2 twist. But rather than going, oh, I'm defeated, I will stop being relevant to the story now, she's like, I'm not having this. And she basically, through subversion, takes over the coven and becomes the actual villain. Absorbs the powers of all the rest of the coven and becomes the final boss. So the TM actually has something to do after being defeated midway through the game. You know, keeping her relevant because she was the villain at the start. Why not the villain at the end? Why not? But yeah, I like that idea. Also, I like the idea of the whole story being about, like, casting off the ideas of sort of fate and, you know, oh, it's said that this is going to happen, or it's been written down, or these are what are expected of you, and all that sort of stuff. TM was kicked from the game the moment she turned good. Exactly, she didn't do it. She gave you a letter. That's what she did. She gave you a letter that allowed you to find the White Seed Chip, who told you that Dishi was elsewhere. That's the most she did. I also like how at the end of the game she ditched her outfit. She ditched all the makeup and the hair stuff and so on. She was wearing it up until that point, but at the end of the game she's like, no, I'm going back to my drab, boring dress because I'm good now. Makeup is for bad people. We know this. We learned this in the game. Only evil people wear a lot of makeup. She's as relevant as a post office. She is the sorceress of mail. Good people can't be stylish. I know. When you seen Drag Race, oh, the most evil show on TV. Relevant as a post office. Can I put that alongside there may be many reasons, but it does not matter, as quotes to summarize this game? The main villain is as relevant as a post office. Yes, you can. Yeah. So what was it? Yeah. Okay. So what would you do for Klefki? Because I like the idea. I like the idea of copyright being like, I will use your fears against you. Because we don't really know what copyright is the sorceress of, and it would make sense that it would be something that would be effective against subjugating people. So getting into their brains and stealing their fears and using them against them is not a bad idea. So what would be important to... This is the problem when you have your entire character, your entire main character, for the first 2/3 of the game, speaks entirely in ellipses. Like, your thought with Klefki was always that it was something from Jimmy. That would be cool if it turned out that was like the one thing he held on to when he was a kid, because that's... You know, it was something that Jimmy gave to Jessica before he left. Because he did give her a ring. Did I mention that? They kind of got informally married in a field before he left. She's still dead, but whatever. He got married and then ran away. That makes it better. Great. But yeah, maybe you gave her the key ring as a sort of a memento, and then she gave it... It was... I don't know. It was sent along with Simon to the orphanage, and he had it as a souvenir of his dead parents or whatever. Had the lion theme and Jimmy and the Mumbas, which are like tiny lions and such. You just thought Jimmy was connected to Klefki. You're assuming this game has some sort of information connecting any two things. The Mumbas are unrelated. I also subsequently discovered that if you choose... Because if you remember, the only reason we know about the whole Jimmy thing is because in the prison, after we've been interrogated, they all come up to us and are like, ah, Jimmy. Turns out, if you're trying to rush through the game and you accidentally don't choose to help the Mumba that gets beaten up by the prison guard, which I didn't even remember was an option, you just always help. It's a cute little animal and he's being beaten up by a prison guard. If you choose not to do that because you're trying to rush through the game, they don't do that. They don't crowd around him going, Jimmy. So it's entirely possible you can go through that game without ever knowing that that was a thing. So yeah. And you don't have to go to the custard people in the North Pole, that's optional. So you don't even have to learn about him being there and then making a statue of him. So, in fact, if you don't bother looking into it, the Mumbas are really out of place. They really wanted a new thing. They wanted, you know, we've got Moogles, they're cute and they're fluffy, but we want a new one. Got Chocobos, Moogles. There's one weird person in England who likes Tomberries, but other than that, yeah. So yeah, not really. Yeah, it would be nice if Jimmy had a lion motif. I don't know how you'd do that, but it would be nice. Some sort of connection there. Okay, I like the idea that Klefki is a hand-me-down. That doesn't sound as important as I meant it to, but I like the idea that Klefki is like a thing that Simon's been holding on to since he was a kid, rather than just a random keyring he got because he likes lions. Like, yeah, it is weird. It's weird when you say it. I admire them for their bravery. Well, yeah, I like pandas because they're cute. Am I going to fight a giant panda? He's already played a knight in the video. Going from a knight to a lion motif isn't that hard. Yeah, I guess you could have, like, you know, the suit of armor could have a big fur collar like Simon's does. Maybe Simon also saw that film when he was a kid. And, you know, Kyle took the pose and Simon took the collar. Little did Simon know he was watching his dad. And maybe they can mention that. Maybe they can mention, you know, after the first flashbacks, like, yeah, I dreamt I was this guy. It was a weird dream because I was this guy that I remember from a film when I was a kid. There's more reason for him to believe it was just a random dream. And then it's a bit of a revelation. It's like, ooh, cute. I like that idea. That's quite fun. We're just trying to find some sort of justification for Klefki. Like, that would make sense if Carl saw it at the orphanage. Why wouldn't Simon have? I guess they did see it at the orphanage. I didn't really think about where they would see it. But we don't have the orphanage in our version, so I would just assume that maybe they watched it when they were at the Space Potato or something. But maybe it's just a film a lot of people saw. It's a film. You know, there was a big war. People want entertainment. Okay, I like that idea. Okay, so we're not going to get rid of Klefki. We're going to fight Klefki. But we're going to, Klefki. Also, another thing that doesn't make sense. It's supposed to represent, like, pride and courage and all that sort of thing. I don't know why it's in the game. It's not called Klefki, obviously. It's one of the 3 things you can name. No, 4 things you can name. It's called Griever, and there's no grief involved in this story, really. Like, it'd make more sense for Griever if it was like, I'm grieving after my parents who died in the war. Like, the lines are there. Like, the dots are there. We need to join them up with lines. That's all I'm saying. You can still implement the Kyle and Simon with childhood friends and rivals. Oh, yeah, they could be childhood friends. Yeah. I mean, maybe they were both at the orphanage. We could have those 2 at the orphanage. Don't need any of the others. I mean, presumably the whole story about, you know, Jimmy going off and Jessica dying and all that, that's still intact. So he would have been at an orphanage. Who knows about Kyle? Like, presumably he had parents, but I don't know. Okay, Klefki, given to Jessica by Jimmy. Jimmy kept by young Simon at orphanage. More meaning later. And then I guess also aside, fur collar on night costume. Implies Simon's yeah, Simon makes the connection. He's like, oh, I've got this lion thing, and oh, this got this cool collar. It's like a mane, and he puts it together, and it makes him part of his identity. And Carl's just like, oh, I like the way he holds his sword. You know, Carl is unimportant in this story, which is not something you expected at the start of the game. Final Fantasy does have a bit of a history of having villains which feel like they should be important, but end up not being. 10 is wonderful for that. It's just this character that keeps coming back and it's like, I am the villain of this game, and you're like, no, you're not. You just aren't. But you keep trying, bless you. Oh, I love that. Kyle and Seymour. You want to see more of me, right? No. Yeah, okay, I like that. We have given actual importance to Klefki, so now this fight makes sense. I'm a bit sad that we lose the castle in the future, but let's face it, we don't need it. So this could be a 3-disc game. We've saved a disc. I've just realised all this stuff. This is disc 3. This is disc 4. Like, just get rid of that. We don't need that. We've cut a disc out of the game. It's pretty good. We've managed to cut a quarter of the physical entity of this game. We don't need 4 discs. Final Fantasy 7 was good enough for 3. Well, 3 was good enough for 7, I should say. Yeah, we're good like that. Let's see if we can get it down to 2. Like, presumably, if you wanted to keep it, like, thematic, like, end the game, like, end disc 2 here, right? Because we've cut out the whole orphanage thing, so we can save space on disc 2. Move that over there, and then that way we can start disc 3 on a dream, like we have done disc 2. Keep it thematic. And then that way, that frees up space to have Klefki in the final fight. Simple. It's also, because the first thing that starts on disc 3 is the film, which we now know to be somewhat significant. It's like, I remember this film. Oh, it was Jimmy who's doing this film. This film was actually, this isn't just a comic relief thing now. This is actually something relevant to our character's identity. Like, he took part of this from this character. And then later, when it turns out that it's actually his father, it's like, that connection. And now maybe I'm a Lion has just started playing. Thank you, YouTube. Okay, cool. I like that. Giving significance to Klefki. Do you know what it feels like? Do you know what Klefki feels like? Have you ever seen Ghostbusters? And at the end, choose the form of your destructor or whatever it is, and they choose the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man. That's what Klefki feels like. It's like, I'm gonna pull this out of nowhere as a sort of intimidating big villain. Can I say that if it seems like the theme for this game has shifted slightly from romantic love to a familial love? That can work. And maybe you could have more, instead of focusing on the cheery Simon dynamic, you could focus more on the Simon-Kyle dynamic. And Simon's like, Simon grew up with Kyle. They grew up at the orphanage together. Maybe he can be a lot more distraught about what Kyle's doing. Yeah. Because they are like brothers. He hates the fact that they have to fight. Bill gets all emotional. You can do that. Now that we've cut Cheery out of the story. Simon could show more emotions in general, but you get what you mean. The thing is, this could be the thing that breaks him out of his shell, rather than the love story between him and Cheery being the thing that gets him to finally break. It's having to fight Kyle. It's having to actually try and kill his brother, his childhood friend. Because you could make that, you know, it's actually a thing that the characters do in the plot for reasons, you know, an actual thing that you control in the plot. Rather than just, oh, there's a space thing. Oh, you go to, oh, there's a ship, get on the ship. Oh no, you have to, let's go to this building. Oh, you broke her out of prison. Oh, it's just... With this, it's like, I don't know, you can have the climactic points of the story. Again, maybe it doesn't feel like it in the way I explained the game, but like the climactic moments, like end of disc 1, you fight Kyle. End of disc 2, you fight Kyle. Like, right near the end of disc 3, you fight Kyle. It's these are big bits of the game where you're fighting Kyle. I feel like just elevating the emotion of those bits can just become more and more significant. Whereas, you know, all the bits with Cheery are just sort of like right in the middle. Just they're things that happen in the interim while we're trying to do something else. Which is what you were thinking when you realised Jimmy's Lion Theme night split up into Cars Night and Simon's Lion Theme. Oh, that's cool. Maybe they were twins. You start the game fighting Car. Again. All of the important moments of this game are Simon fighting Kyle. And like, this is like, you know, this is a training fight, you know, brotherly hate. These things, I fought with my brother before. I still love him, but you know, brothers fight. That's what they do. But these, like, these are Simon realizing this isn't messing around anymore. Thematically ties things together. Okay, I like this. This is a good idea. So familial love story over romantic, and as a sort of subheading of that, emotional development of Simon develops having to fight Kyle, his childhood friend. Building, crescendoing with each fight. Let's move this up. Jimmy's Knight character splits into Kyle's, you know, warrior, as it were, versus Simon's whatever Simon is. Simon's courage, I guess. Simon's lion. That's cool. I like that. Stop playing this. Right, Cactus Jack. I don't know why it's called Cactus. Do you know why it's called Cactus Jack? I don't know why it's called Cactus Jack. This is when we visit the Space Pancake. There are no cactuses around. Was that like the original name of McCree? Or is it like a cowboy? It kind of makes sense. Cactus Jack sounds like a cowboy name. I want to look this up. Apparently it's a film that was released this year. It's a record label. It's the name of Mick Foley. Here we go. Where did the name Cactus Jack come from? Okay, the best somebody has as to why the piece of music that introduces the pancake is called Cactus Jack is that apparently the school's mascot is a cactuar, the little cactus monster, and that's what the mascot's called, Cactus Jack. What a game! Final Fantasy VIII, everybody. Literally the base of operations for the villains of the game. Cactus Jack. Right. So, okay, are there any other big things? Also, between Pikachu and his mum, Dishy and Jimmy, and Kyle and Simon, there's a lot of emphasis on, like, adopted families. Just want to say that. Yeah, that's nice. Nice theme, yeah. Oh, sorry. I'll add that to the thing to emphasize in the story. Emphasis on adopted families. Again, good dialogue patch, you can get that in there. Jimmy and Dishy. Pikachu and Ms. Pikachu. Simon and Kyle, etc. Right, okay. So we've given decent context to Klefki. I like that. We've rethemed the love story to be about familial love, which I'm all for. We've gotten rid of we've gotten rid of the egregious time travel nonsense. By just not mentioning a lineage of sorceresses, we're fine. You know, succession of witches, that doesn't have to be a literal one-to-one succession, that can just be, you know, and then another one goes in charge because they're powerful. You know, and then they die, and then another one becomes powerful. You know, we've removed purposeless plot points like the orphanage of plot convenience. We've removed pointless love story nonsense. We've removed the moon being a base for monsters. Is there anything else we just... any flack? Any just... this game does not need this. Because what we could do with Klefki, we don't need Cheery going, oh, I want your keyring. We could just have it like, you know, maybe as she was falling off the thing. Like... I don't know, how would you... like maybe the two of them are actually together in the scene, Cheery and Simon or whatever, and then as the ground breaks away underneath her, she like grabs onto Simon and like in an attempt to stay on or whatever, and she accidentally, oh, how about this for an idea? This actually works quite well. She like rips his belt off or something, which takes his gunblade away, so he doesn't have a weapon now. And she's just hanging on with this belt. And that explains why later in the story he has to fist fight somebody on a rope, because he doesn't have a sword anymore. That makes sense. And as she's as you know, she's rescued and they go to the space pancake and all that, she hands over the belt and the thing and she's like, what's this keyring all about? So it's not like, oh, I really want a copy of your keyring. It's, you know, I wonder what this thing is that's on your, I've never noticed it before. And then he gets to explain. Like, you can still have that scene, it just doesn't have to be a kind of slightly creepy, obsessive love thing. That's what you thought the Succession and Witches theme meant until like the last 2 streams when you realised how literal it was. I know. Although that's largely because that's only when I realised how literal it was. It literally says that just before you go to the Lunatic Pandora, TM comes out and says, oh, by the way, sorceresses, they can't die until they've passed their powers on, and I got my powers from somebody who just turned up one day through a time portal. There was an older version of you there as well. I forgot about that. Okay, I like that slightly rewritten scene. It doesn't change much. Still, that's fine. It's not in our version. It's so much of this game is pulled out of nowhere and has no effect on the story. Oh, frame man, please. Okay, so Klefki is now pulled belt and sword when Jiri fell. Passing mention when returned. Explains fist fight. Hope people can read my handwriting. Oh, it's maybe on my line again. So, like, part of me does want to do something with TM. Because again, she just stops being significant. And again, there is a slight, you know, because in our game we see Copyright in space for the first time. She's in prison. She falls down to Earth. We then fight her when we get to the crystal, and then the game ends. Like, we still don't quite get the satisfaction of seeing our final villain do anything. But I don't know how much of this would you need to rewrite to make that work. Maybe TM runs in at the last moment and absorbs the dying Copyright's powers and becomes the final villain. Like, it was evil all along. I don't know. Maybe Fly does that. Okay, what else can we just sort of strip for parts? What don't we need here? Can we get rid of Velma as a character? I don't think we need her, really. The only real connection is the orphanage, I guess. You know, she can be a trainer at the school. That's fine. I don't mind her being a creepy trainer at the school, but we don't need her as a character. And then that way we can have pinches in our party. Not even just because you don't like her, but she hasn't been important since like the second stream. I'll have you know, she was the one who convinced Simon to break Cheery out of prison. Do you not remember my favourite drawing of Velma? I think it was the one before this. Where is it? Oh no, it must have been the one before that. Hello. There. Be irresponsible. Honestly, Simon didn't even need that motivation. Also, we've cut that plot point out, so that doesn't matter either. Oh, but then she can't be stupid and get locked in the room. Because she wanted to go back and apologize while she was in the middle of an assassination mission. Pikachu can do that. That feels like a Pikachu thing to do. Oh no, Jenny. It feels like a Jenny thing to do. It's like, oh no, I hurt somebody's feelings. Pikachu's... They're both together, they're stupid enough to do that. The bowling pin duo are... They can do that. So, I think we could probably rewrite Velma out of this. The lock shenanigans are now just Pikachu. And Jenny. Remove Velma. We don't need her. She's weird. She's so unimportant, I actually forgot to include her conversation with Simon in the student place. Yeah, it goes in there. There's the dance. I should specify there's a dance in there. Dance. We meet Cheery. That's fine. That whole scene's fine. We dance, you know. Guy dances with girl awkwardly at school prom. That's fine. It's not going to impinge on it. If anything, it just goes to show, hey, this is probably not a love story. Because look how terrible their chemistry is. No, so far we just completely erased 2 entire characters from the game. Let's go for a third. This is I mean, Cheery can feed a little bit into Kyle and Simon's rivalry, but not as an actual love story. That's interesting. Fuel the fire. You know, pretty much everything else, pretty much all of this sort of like, oh yeah, we need to, well, hang on. There's another thing we need to get out of the, there we go. Get rid of that. Don't need Simon carrying Cheery. What did we work it out to be? It would have taken like 10 days or something. We don't need that. You know, somebody in our party has fallen unconscious. We need to help them. That's, you know, that's a perfectly acceptable way of moving the story forwards. Somebody in our party, it turns out, was a sorceress, maybe. Did we say she's a sorceress? Oh, she's not a sorceress. Okay. Somebody in our party was possessed by somebody. We need to fix this. We need to work out who it is. So you can actually retool the whole Estes thing, going to Estes. We could retool it as something that has absolutely nothing to do with Simon being interested in Cheery. It's just, hey, we found out that TM wasn't evil. TM was being possessed by somebody. And that somebody then went on and possessed Cheery. We need to help Cheery regain consciousness so that we can work out who that was and what they were doing. So you can retool this entire thing to just be nothing to do with Cheery at all. This is just, we need to find out who's doing this. Because they're the real villain. And we need to sort that out. I like that. Retool going to Estes as we need to find out who possessed our friend. And that's when they learn all about copyright and all that sort of stuff. And we get to see some nice background stuff about what copyright does and what they can do if they get let out. And then they get let out. And we're like, oh god, we've got to stop that. This is why you never felt the chemistry between them. Everything can be retooled as just, you know, there are other reasons to do this. Yeah, so we don't even need, like... I didn't even bother including it. The whole love scene in the space station. Or the spaceship. We don't need that. We just fight aliens. Oh, we just saved this person. They've now regained consciousness. They're no longer being possessed. Because copyright is now free. We find a spaceship. We come back to Earth. We then go to Estes and report on what we found. Maybe this really is just a matter of just so much dead wood. Just like, just a bit of pruning, cut off all the bits that don't matter, and you could actually end up with a story. Maybe it's not a great story, but you can end up with something that's decent. I'm really fond of retooling this to be about the relationship between Simon and Kyle. Because previous Final Fantasies have actually tried to... Final Fantasy IV had a similar sort of thing, actually. It didn't do it very well, but it had a similar sort of thing, that kind of like, you know, we grew up together and now we're on opposite sides. I feel like this story has a much better scope for doing that, and it just doesn't. It's honestly all there, it just wasn't used. This is the thing. It's like they threw everything at the wall to see what stuck. And they just had an inexplicably sticky wall. Like, the first thing they threw was glue, and that was a mistake. And it's like, it's not that everything here is bad, it's just like, if you would just give some of these ideas breathing room, if you would just focus on some of these ideas. I think this is why I don't hate this game, and not just because of nostalgia. I think it's because there is stuff here that's good. There's stuff here that has potential. But boy, it just throws everything away. I don't hate this game, I feel bad for this game. I pity it. Oh dear. There's stuff here, but there's just too much stuff. This is the thing, is like, we've kind of written 3 different stories of this game. The time travel one, the let's focus on Simon and Kyle one, and the sorceress lineages and knights and all that sort of stuff. We've managed to write 3 different versions of this story that are more compelling by just taking 3 different things that are already there and making them the focus. There are like 5 different games in this, and none of them communicate. There are 5 different people writing this game and none of them communicated. That's what happened. Yeah, this is why this game's so frustrating. Because the more I think about it, like, I'm going to go off a little bit of a tangent. The more I think about it, the end of this game, like, a lot of people talk about the whole, you know, weird walking through limbo desert stuff and having, you know, losing their face and all that sort of thing. I'm talking about the castle, right? Why? There is no reference to that castle anywhere. That there would be a castle, any of the things that are in the castle. It is just there. I've never thought about it before because I like the castle. But in the context of the game, no, that's wrong. There is no context of the game. It's just there. Like, it really just does feel like somebody came up with the idea for the castle and nobody had the courage to say this doesn't fit. This music is perfect for my slowly dwindling sanity. You know what, we could play a game next time. You do really like the Kyle Simon rivalry angle, especially because it starts out with them fighting. It is, yeah, that is actually weird. The opening cutscene is literally a montage of cutscenes that happen later in the game, interspersed with that sword fight. So the only thing that is specific to the first cutscene is that sword fight. And the fact that Kyle is not relevant for the rest of the game is a pretty big problem. He's just a speed bump. He's just in the way of the thing you're going for. Then you have their mission together, and that doesn't go too well. One of them graduating and the other one not. Cheery getting in the way, and then a little bit of sorcery gets involved, and there's a major wedge between them too. Oh, there's a pun I could make there, but we renamed the character, so... I think you mean there's a major wide Jesse in the way. Yeah. Wide Jesse's real name is Wedge. Yeah, like there's a lot in there that could work for that. But there's a lot in there that could work for all the other things as well. I was thinking, like, could you, as an alternative project, because I was hoping for a minimum viable product, right? I was hoping to be able to pare this down to something that is viable, but just sort of works, and is stripped and is streamlined. I'm kind of starting to think it's possible to take all of the constituent components of this plot, completely tear them apart, and reassemble 3 sensible games. Like, with no overlap at all. You reckon that's possible? I think it might be. Because I can't think of, like, the things that work towards these ideas. The time stuff, the familial stuff, the sorceress stuff. We're already on our way there, yeah, exactly. We're on our way towards one of them. But they don't really have an awful lot of overlap. You can make them work. I don't know. I don't know. I'm just astonished at... Before I started doing this draw-through, I kind of didn't want to do the draw-through because I had my idea as to how you would fix this game. And I really liked my way of how you could fix this game. And I still do. To the point that I fixed it so far that I basically rewrote the entire thing. Which isn't really fixing, is it? Yeah, I fixed the... I fixed the lock on your door. I've covered the entire thing in plasterboard. So there just isn't a door anymore. But I had that, and I was like, okay, that's a really sensible solution to the problem. This idea of, like, oh, you combine time compression with the inconsistent art design, it works out, and then you actually have a reason to think that the villain of the game is a problem. I fixed the lock on your door by installing another door. I fixed the lock on your door by removing the wall that it's in. But this is the thing. This is a good metaphor, because it turns out, having talked about it through the draw-through and having had these conversations, I'm just realizing that, like, I was really naive to think that my solution was the solution, because there are so many ways of rewriting this thing. Like, mine still works, I think. I can make it a bit convoluted, because I like convoluted timey-wimey things, but I can at least make it, you know, coherent with each other, each individual piece of the story coherent with one another. But, like, the fact that you can do it in so many different ways with this story, it's kind of like a Rorschach test. It's like, what do you see in this story? What patterns are you observing? Focus on those. And it was why I was like, you know, I have the OST running in the background, which I'm sure I had on CD, I can't find, but I've been using a YouTube playthrough. A YouTube playlist, sorry. And occasionally I scroll down and look at the comments of the videos, and it's like people extolling just how much they love the story of the game, and just how much they're like, oh, it meant so much to me, this love story between these two characters, or oh, it was so powerful, sort of thing. And I was just like, how is this possible? And I think it's because people just get to ignore the bits of the story they don't care about, and all that's left is a story that they do care about, because there are 5 intertwined stories here, and it's like, choose which one you want to pay attention to. Yeah, it does have that kind of Rorschach test sort of feel to it. It's like, okay, yeah, if you want to hyper-focus on the love story, you can. Like, obviously I didn't explain the love story very well, because I can't really accurately replicate dialogue. And it is written slightly better than I, gave it credit for. But the fact that, the fact that I thought it was bad and I've played through the game like 10 times, I guess it really is a Rorschach test. I'd be very interested to know, like, if someone who watched the draw through but hadn't played the game then goes and plays the game, what they would think I got wrong. Because you are hearing my version of this story. And I am not a perfect communicator, as I'm sure you will all attest. I have my biases. I like my wibbly-wobbly timey stuff, and I don't really care too much about boring long-term character development. Well, I do if it's done well. But, and it rarely is in Final Fantasy. In any of them. Well, it kind of works in 9. We'll get to that. In like a year or two. Yeah. What else? What else can we jettison? Just like frivolous stuff. Wait, I'm waiting. Just write that down before I forget. Sorry, I've been very sniffly today. My nose has been playing up. It's been playing up for about 2 months now. It's my sinuses. They're right annoying, they are. Sorry, you just realised that, like, how Simon and Kyle are both Jimmy in a way. You could turn the bowling pin duo and the non-binarity as parallels to Jim and Jen. Oh yeah. They do really come in threes, don't they? I mean, I guess one of the reasons they come in threes is because in this game your party consists of 3 people. But I guess that has no bearing on the non-binarity. You never control them. But yeah, maybe. I mean, obviously, I went bowling pin duo on Pikachu and Jenny. I didn't quite get across their personalities as well as I should. Pikachu is boisterous, occasionally irritable, easy to anger, but quite childish in a way. And Jenny is very sort of, she comes across as a little sort of ditzy and like, peace-loving, silly, girly girl, but she's more canny than that. And she knows more than she lets on, as it were. But I bowling pinned them. So those characters do have a little bit more depth to them, I guess. So I guess you could just, you could make connections. And like, I don't really know The non-binarity don't get much development. One of them speaks entirely in single shouted words, and the other one just ends sentences with "you know," and that's about as much character development as they get. One of them likes fishing. One of them's serious. One of them isn't. One of them's professional. One of them isn't. So I guess you could have that with like Jimmy, with Pikachu and Jenny. Jenny's sort of like, we need to get on with the work, and Pikachu's like, no, this thing. Yeah, and yeah, Jim and Jen. Jim and Jen. To be fair, Jim doesn't get an awful lot of development. Like, I wouldn't really know how to describe Jim at all. It doesn't help that they lose their voice at the end of the game. Did I mention that? I don't think I did, because it doesn't come up. You know when they jumped off the cliff in the second dream? He lost his voice at that point. But I guess in our rewrite, I would make Jim a bit of a silly character. Why not? Make Jim a bit of a silly character. Have Jen be the more serious one. And then you have Jimmy as a sort of that kind of halfway between. Well, Jimmy's just the protagonist of the group, as it were. Yeah, you can. Yeah, you have these trios. Do you know what would be nice? If you were going to do something like that, it would be nice to have some points of the game that are playable as Kyle and the non-binarity. I don't know how you would weave that in, but I feel like that's like a strong point. So that it's not just a sort of straight up, oh, they're a villain. Like, at some point you were them. Like, I mean, you do control Kyle in the invasion exam. You do control Kyle during that before he runs off. But like, yeah. There's part of me that's just harvesting this for ideas for stories. Like, again. Taps nose. Spoilers. Yeah, maybe there's like what you could do. I'm trying to think how you would sort of implement that whole idea of like this sort of mirrored trio of characters. Of like just have like a certain circumstance that's pretty specific to the characters happen 3 times in each trio. A trio of trios. Or have one of the other duo. So there's like the protagonist and then there's the other two, right? There's a non-binarity, there's Jim and Jen, and there's the bowling pin duo. Just have like a little scene of like one of them doing something and one of them reprimanding the other for doing it, or something like that. That just happens almost verbatim in each instance, to sort of drive home the point of like, oh, there are parallels here. The problem is, I was trying to think of something like, I'm trying to think of something that these characters do in the story that we could find connections between, and the more I'm thinking, they don't do anything. No one does anything in this game. The most I can think that Jenny does in this game is sets up a concert, and I think we got rid of that. Yeah, we got rid of that. So I don't know what Jenny does in this game. Pikachu's got his mum. That's nice. Can Pikachu and Jenny be a thing? I like that. They suit each other. I'd rather that than Jenny go with McCree, as was the implication. I don't know. I like the idea. You honestly thought they were going to end up together. It makes sense. I just like the idea of when you go to Balam and you go into Pikachu's house and his mum's there, and it's like, oh, hey, Simon, look, here's my mum. I like the idea that he actually gets a bit nervous when introducing Jenny. It's like suddenly that's a bit more significant. Yeah, I don't know. That's cute. I want these characters to have character. I want them to do something. The Final Fantasy IX draw-through is going to be so different because the characters do things. The characters actually have impetus, and they pull away from each other, and they push towards each other, and they're... You'd almost think it was written by a completely different team of people. Oh, wait. That's right, they have like 3 concurrent teams of writers going on the game so that they can keep releasing them regularly. Yeah, okay, so in summary, rewrite number 1, I think we'll probably have at least 2 out of this. Rewrite number 1. We're going to scrap a bunch of stuff. This is the minimum viable product rewrite. Get rid of STPP altogether. Don't need that. Copyright does everything that STPP does, but from space rather than from the future. Get rid of the orphanage, no one needs that. Get rid of Velma. Completely unnecessary to the story at this point. You know, all major realizations you've had about this game are basically like, no one does anything, this character is useless, or anything like that. It really is. They tried so hard to focus on the love story, and that didn't work, and so everything else they didn't bother trying just ends up flailing and floating in the water. Copyright wants to dishonor Jessie so that they can either suppress or collect their powers. Dishonor Jessie is a sorceress, and sorceresses have special ideas, or special sort of foci, if you like. Cheery isn't a sorceress, so we can take that whole thing out. She basically exists in the plot as a way to drive a wedge between Kyle and Simon. Klefki is a memento from Jimmy given to Jessica, which then was handed down to Simon when he was sent to the orphanage. And it's a thing that he clings on to as a memento of his parents. Simon and Kyle were both influenced by the film that Jimmy was in, not knowing that Jimmy's his dad. And so they're kind of... The story is a bit more focused on the relationship between Simon and Kyle and their sort of like brotherly interactions and how that's driven further and further apart over the course of the story, and Simon's emotional sort of outbreak over the course of the game, or breakthrough over the course of the game, is as a direct consequence of him having to combat the person who he's closest to. Familial love over romantic love, yeah. That's basically this story. We have found a story in this. Yeah, emphasis on adopted families, emphasis on trios as well, of little gangs of friends. Again, kind of adopted sort of friends and families and all that sort of stuff. We can basically get rid of any mention of going to Estes for Cheery's sake, as we need to work out what's going on with this weird villain. Yeah. Did I mention remove Velma? I think I mentioned remove Velma. She can have more to do, but that's at least part of her function. Yeah, Cheery can do some stuff. Like, I mean, Cheery is also the MacGuffin of why we need to go to Estes, so... Is that all she is in this version? she drives a wedge between two characters and is a MacGuffin. Yeah, I don't know. I quite like these changes. It's just a bit more streamlined, you know. Like the start of the game hasn't really changed all that much. We've taken out Velma. Like, disc 1 is barely changed. Yeah, just make it a little bit more emotional, the final fight between Kyle and Simon. We could take out the whole stuff with the concert and the orphanage of plot convenience. Again, more emphasis on the fight with Kyle. Klefki is actually explained, the backstory. Maybe that's when we also learn about the film or whatever. Get rid of a bunch of crap. Oh, Luna Cry, that's out as well. Forgot about that. You'd also think the car should be actually possessed or influenced by copyright through TM, and not just whatever he was doing in the game. Yeah, it is. Well, the thing is, TM had the kind of... I guess the idea is that TM is good at hypnotism, is good at mind control in some sense, because they managed to take a political office, mind control. They mind controlled the entire crowd during the assassination scene so that they didn't mind the fact that people were being mauled to death in front of them. You know, I guess that's why she wanted to do the TV broadcast as well, although that got interrupted. Yeah, so there's some mind nonsense going on, I guess. Again, maybe I explained that poorly. Who knows? Speaking of explaining things poorly, we're finished explaining things poorly. It is now the end of the stream. Okay, so that's that idea. I think we've probably got enough in ourselves to do another one next time, particularly with Ragdoll's ideas. Yeah. I quite like that. Yeah. If you actually develop Simon and Carl's relationship, there's a story there. Don't know, you just remembered at the end of the draw through Carl was just sort of there for no actual reason? Oh yeah, at the pier. Yeah. He did that. Did I mention that the only thing he actually does is fail to catch a fish? And then when did we actually give names to the non-binarity? I don't think we did. When one of the non-binarity kicks the other one into the pier, he laughs. That's basically all that happens there. Like Randall said, he was fishing for plot points, absolutely. It turns out there were too many plot points. We weren't fishing for some, we had too many, we had a surplus. No, we absolutely didn't. They're just the non-binarity, that's just what they are. Good for them. Yeah. So that was that. Tomorrow. Boom. Yeah. And Gam. Might carry on with Opus Magnum. I'm quite enjoying that. It's not it doesn't feel like a good stream game, but I quite enjoy it. So I don't know. Do people like that? You called them N and B in your header, so I had to distinguish them. That's cool. Which one's N and which one's B? Feel free to refer to them as the big and the small one. What are their names? Oh no, none of those match up, unfortunately. It's F and R in the main game, the initials, but N is the small one, okay. B is the big one. B for big. Got it. Yeah. Do you know what? I just had a thought. I'm just gonna look something up quickly. Oh, well. And a thought, call the news! I did a thunk. Apparently, there is no wide and grumpy Jesse in Final Fantasy IX. I just thought of that. Because I was just thinking whether or not the names of the non-binarity turn up in Final Fantasy IX. And I was like, nah, they're not really a recurring thing. And then I thought, wait, hang on. Weird, yeah. They were in, apparently... Wait, they were in 4, were they? I remember them being in 4. I thought 6 was their first appearance. Anyway, they're in 4, 6, 7, 8, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15. So they're pretty consistently recurring. It just so happens that 9. And they decided to stay away from it. There we go. No wide or grumpy for the next one. Yeah. So yeah, what? Let's end on some music. I know what we'll end on. We'll end on that. Yeah. Thanks for coming along. Thank you for helping me rewrite this and pointing out that there is actually yet another good story in this game. If only you do some digging and some rebuilding. Thanks for nice chat. Thank you for nice chat. Yeah, it's good. I liked it. Maybe we'll do another one of these on Tuesday. Yeah, tomorrow probably. It's weird being the only one here. It's fine. Other people doing other things. I hope this was a good couple of hour chat. I mean, we've had couple of hour chats on our own before. It just so happens that I'm the only one on voice chat this time, which is a bit weird. And it's being broadcast. And it will be saved on YouTube ad infinitum. But other than that, it's perfectly normal conversation. Oh dear. The internet's weird, isn't it? Yeah, thanks for coming along. And if anybody has watched the VOD, well done. Perfectly normal, definitely. Yeah. So thank you very much. I very much enjoyed this. This was essentially your rewrite. Like I didn't really do much here because it started off with your idea of taking out STPP and having copyright, and then transformed into focusing less on Cheery and more on Kyle and that relationship. I mean, I was the vector, so I'm not going to say this is your version of the story. You take ownership of this. Like, no, if you want to rewrite your own version, you do it. But I was your secretary. I was your secretary. I should not be a secretary. I can't say sentences. I cannot repass when it comes to perspective and temporal verbiage. I was your secretary. That's what I was trying to say. Oh dear. Yeah. Anyway, I need to pop off now. Have a wonderful time. Hope you have a grand old week. And I'll be back tomorrow for some relaxing games with machines. At some point, we'll do Chaos Chess. Maybe Sunday. We'll give that a go. That's kind of creative, right? Maybe? Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for coming to stream. Love you too. Have a wonderful time, everyone. And by everyone, I mean Chibi. And if you're lurking, hi, how you doing? Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, see you around. Bye.